Okay, so it's Spoopy C. I forgot to do the. Okay. Well, it's Spoopy season, and unlike everyone else who's doing spoopy things, I'm just gonna do the same shit I've always been doing. So, today. Oh shit. Where did my notes go? I actually have notes for this one. There it is. Talking about the Netflix movie I'm thinking of ending things. I keep thinking it's I'm thinking about ending things, but it's I'm thinking of ending things. It's based on a book. Never read the book. Never heard of it. All that stuff. Never gonna get. Sorry. Anyway, so I wrote notes because while watching the movie, I was like, "Ha," you know. Um, it's really hard to talk about this movie without really going into spoilers, but just simplistically, just kind of like the synopsis of this movie, like, you know, that Netflix gave you and IMDb and everyone else. This movie really isn't what you think it is. It's like you have to. There's a lot where you have to pay a lot of attention to the movie, like just like more than usual, you know. Um, I think I said with Tenet, I was like, it's a Nolan movie, you gotta pay attention. I mean, like this one, you really have to be like fucking eagle, like you know, you have to be super detail oriented. Um, because just I only watched it once, and like you know, to be cocky, but it's like I noticed all these different things, you know. A lot of people on Letterboxd like I think I'm too stupid to understand this, which I feel like it's kind of I feel like I'm reviewing Tenet again. But then there's also a lot of people again just like Tenet on this review calling this movie pretentious. I can see I can see why it's being like you know perceived as pretentious from some people because I feel like again if I wasn't so detail oriented and I didn't notice all the subtle nuances in all honesty with this movie, I probably would have just been like, what the fuck? You know, I probably would have had like a I probably would have had like a reaction like it did to Relic, where I was like, wow, you're really trying to be this, you know. Especially this movie has Toni Collette, so you could kind of have an idea of like, wow, you're really trying to do that again, you know. But if you do pay attention, and I mean really fucking pay attention, I don't know how many times I have to say that with movies. I'm like, you have to pay attention, but I mean like really pay attention, like you just got, you know. Um, then you would notice how like you're like, wait, what the, you know, um, and the ending is a bit like kind of thing. Like I had an idea of what. Again, trying not to go into spoilers, but like I had an idea what I thought the ending was, and I wasn't wrong. And then I looked up an interview um, with the director, and he explained the ending, and I was like, okay, so I'm not wrong. He also has like some extra stuff in there, which I was like, I mean, I guess. But yeah, so I enjoyed this movie again because I'm, you know, a smart asshole who notices things. Um, I also feel like with this movie, again, you pay attention, you watch it. It's very, very simple, you know, to a degree. Again, it's just hard to like talk about this without spoilers because it's just like what the fuck. But again, basis is that this girl is the main character. Her boyfriend is Jesse Plemons, and they've been dating for only like 6 weeks. But she's just like, I don't think this is really gonna go anywhere. Which you know, shit happens. But then she decides to go on like this, not really like a road trip, but like a decent long drive, you know, to the guy's like parents' place. And then like that's where like things happen and things get weird. Again, it's like I don't know how much to like to say without spoilers. I mean, yeah, to get weird. That's pretty much the best way to put it. Just things get weird, you know. But yeah, I just it's really hard to talk about. Okay, so I'm gonna go into spoilers. One, two, three spoilers. So this whole movie. So okay, you know how like in a lot of based on a book movies, there's always like you know voiceover narration kind of stuff because again with a book and all that stuff, there's so much information and a lot of times a lot of these books are spoken from said characters, you know, mind and just them, you know, blah 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 blah. Blah. So you know it starts off with like a lot of the voiceover narration of the girl and she's just kind of like you know like very like I'm thinking about ending things and I don't know why I'm deciding to go to, like, his parents' place. Like, it's like very much that. So you're just like, okay, fine, this is gonna be one of these kind of like sad breakup movies, because I think the this guy, he also wrote Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind. So I was like, all right, so we're gonna have that kind of feel to it. But not to say that Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind wasn't, like, again, if you did pay attention, you would have been really confused as why Kate Winslet at one point had orange hair and then she had blue hair. Because, not to get off topic, but I put that movie on to show someone and they weren't paying attention. This is before smartphones. We had little flip phones. I don't know what the fuck that bitch was doing. But then she was like, oh my god, like, why did she suddenly have blue hair? And I was like, well, if you paid attention, like, it was like that kind of, like, I didn't want to give it away. I was like, oh god. And I was like, do you want me to rewind it, restart? She's like, no, let's keep playing it. Okay, like, why is her hair red now? Like, it was like, anyway. Anywho, so what was I saying? Oh my god, I'm tired. But yeah, you would think it's like one of those things where it's like two people who love each other, but then they fall out of love, that kind of stuff. Fine, you know? I rather watch movies like that because that seems more realistic than some kind of like Lifetime meet cute kind of stuff of like we ran into each other like at a cafe, or like I'm from a small town kind of shit. Like I'm coming home for the holidays, and that just kill me. It starts, this seems very realistic. Also, this movie shot really well. So, hey, even if like the movie doesn't make any sense, I feel like, again, I'm talking about Tenet. If the movie doesn't make any sense, it looks pretty, you know. um, so it's a lot of that, you know. They get in the car and the girl has like her inner monologue of like, I'm thinking of ending things. And it's kind of funny because while she's doing that, the guy is like, it's like the guy can hear her inner monologue and would like cut her off. He's like, anyway, like kind of like, anyway, so once we get to my parents' place, and you're like, huh? You know? But like her voiceover doesn't say like, can he hear me? Because that usually happens with movies like this. We're like, can he hear me? And it'd be like, no, I can't hear you. Whoa! It just kind of went, excuse me, as is. So yeah, it's a lot of like, conversations, all that stuff, and like things already are weird because their conversation in the car doesn't seem like normal conversation. A lot of it seems like they're reading from the script kind of thing. Like this seems more like you're reading out loud rather than you're talking to me. And I was already like, like that kind of thing. But again, because the synopsis is like, it's not what you think, I was like, all right, you know what? This movie is not even like that long. Like it's fine. Like I can sit through this. It's on Netflix. We can pause. We can rewind. And so I'm sitting through it, and then once really like once they get to the parents' house and they get out the car, I was like, hold on a second. And that's when I was like, I got my little notes. So the movie starts off with the girl. She's got red hair. It's really curly. It's just kind of down, kind of like in a bob kind of thing. And she's got like a red hat, a bright yellow scarf, and like a red like wool coat, and like some kind of like um, kind of striped sweater underneath and all that stuff. When she takes the sweater off in the car, which that kind of like misdirection, kind of magician kind of thing. So then when she gets out of the car, suddenly she's in like this kind of like muted magenta coat, and I was like, wait. And then her scarf isn't yellow anymore. It's like a muted pink, and her hat is similar. And I was like, wait a second. And you know how like on the progress bar, you could kind of like hover your mouse over a certain spot. So I like hovered it back to like the beginning of the movie, and like you see her like yellow scarf, red coat, red hat, like that with snow, and I was like, oh my god. Like, it's intentional, because if that was just like a terrible goof, then that's a horrible goof. So I wrote down, I was like, hat, sweater, coat changes color. And I was like, what the fuck? You get to the guy's house, and the mom is like upstairs, like, hey! Like, like at the window, like, hey! And the son's like, let's not go in yet. Let me take you on like a tour of the farm first. And the girl's like, are you serious? And you're already like, something's not okay. So, she's, they go through the farm, and then there's a story about like a pig infested with maggots, and you're like, oh my god, is she gonna die? You know, like you're just thinking like, is this like Get Out? You know, like did he take her to like this girl he's only been dating for like 6 weeks to like the parents' place? It's just like what is going on? You know, like that kind of stuff. You get into the house and suddenly like the parents are nowhere to be seen, but then you hear the parents upstairs like, we'll be right down, and it goes on for like 10 minutes of the parents not coming downstairs, and you're already like, what is this, like Stepford Wives? Also, when she comes back into the house, her hair, yeah, like her hair is tied up, or maybe that happened later, but yeah, when you come back in the house, um the shit changes again. I mean, no, sorry. You get back in the house. My bad. I'm going all over the place because there's so many changes. So you get back in the house. Then her sweater underneath is a different color. Because it was like, it's striped and it was kind of like black and what, like peachy, whatever, salmon color. But then it's like gray, you know, like that changes. At one point, like her hair is tied and you're like, ugh. But they're really good at doing it where it's not like Scott Pilgrim, where it was just like, oh, your hair is getting long, and then suddenly like he's got the hat on, kind of thing, like in the next shot. They do it where there's a long fucking motorcycles. It's a long enough time where you don't even like notice something yet. You know, some things are a little bit more like you know, abrupt and apparent, like very obvious. Others it's like a little sneaky, you know. Maybe some people didn't notice the coat and all that stuff and the sweater, but like I was just like, oh, whoa, you know. um so yeah, oh, then it's like weird because there's like a dog there and she pets the dog and the dog like does the dog shake thing, but like way longer, like really weird, and you're already like, did they step into like a weird dimension? You're like, I don't know what the fuck is going on in this house, you know? So then like some time goes by. Also, there's like a weird thing with like the basement because like the basement's got tape. Like the door of the basement's got like tape and scratch marks, and you're like, I don't fucking know what's going on. And then so then the parents come downstairs, you know, and it's Tony Collette and that guy who was in the Harry Potter movies. You know, the dad definitely looks like he's wearing a hairpiece. Like he just stuck, and it looks very obvious like you stuck like my cornhusk hair. It's like you just stuck a piece of like a hairpiece on his head. He's got like a band-aid on him. He's wearing like, you know, like a flannel shirt like a dad does. Tony Collette's got like bangs, you know, and it's just, and because it's Tony Collette, and you know, I've seen her in like 1,000 things, but most people nowadays know her from Hereditary, so you're already like, I don't trust you. Excuse me, I don't trust you. So then it goes to like the dinner scene, and I was like, whoa. Like the dinner scene, the dad comes into the kitchen, and it's like the actor's regular hair. It's just like, it's pushed back, there's no extra hair piece. Toni Collette is her regular hair, you know, that hair you normally see her with. There's no bangs, it's kind of just like, you know, she put a little clip in, like all that stuff. And it's just like, okay. Also, the dad has like a band-aid on his head, and that would like switch places. And I'm just like, what is going on? I was like 50 minutes into this movie, and I was like, I am losing my shit right now watching this movie because I'm like, you know, yeah, dad's band-aid, dad's hair, Toni Collette's hair. Oh, and then like, so then like, there's conversation about dinner, and then in the conversation with dinner, it's said many times that the girl has like 1,000 different occupations. First, she's a painter. Then it was something about you're studying like a form of physics, and then it's like then she write, and it's like all this stuff. But they like, you know, the parents also seem to have some like early onset Alzheimer's because like they don't remember certain things, and then they'll say it, and then like the son is correcting them, and it's really like, huh, who, huh? The dinner conversation, as my hair is just falling all over the place, is very, huh? Also, while everything around keeps like changing and all that stuff, you notice that Jesse Plemons' character, like his outfit never changes. It's always like it's the same, you know, sports coat, dress shirt. Like he's a constant in this, and you're like, you know, you're kind of like something is awry. Um, Also, it's like weird because it's insinuated in the beginning that the girl's name is Lucy. And then she gets a phone call, looks on her phone, and someone named Lucy's calling her. Which, granted, you can have this, like, you and a friend can have the same name. But I feel like in this movie's context, that's not the case. And it's like, okay. And then her phone rings every so often, and it's like similar names. So it would be like Lucy, then it would be like Lucia, then it would be like Louise, like that kind of stuff, like weird, like different names. And then she always needs like her glasses, and then her glasses are different. They go from like red to like pink to like thick black rim ones back to red, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? It feels like those videos on YouTube were like they play it like it's a minute and a half skit, and it's like, did you notice 16 things changed? And I'm usually the person who is like, am I freaking out when I'm like, I'm usually the one who is like, I don't trust anyone after watching this. And people are always like, there's no way you were able to spot it, because I wasn't able to spot it, and I was only able to spot it until after they revealed it, and I rewatched it, then I was able to spot it. There's no way you were able to spot it. And it's like, okay, God, geez, not all of us are dumb, okay? Jesus Christ. I mean, I probably didn't spot every single fucking thing that changed. Like, probably the wallpaper changed because it was very floral and all that stuff. Like, I didn't go frame by frame. I really didn't even, like, rewind back. I was just like, I did, like, the hover thing on the progress bar. I was just like, this is weird. But yeah, so, there's also a part, like, after dinner, like, she starts clearing the table, the girl, she starts clearing the table, like, very, like, weird, like, I got that. I'll clear the table. It's all in the kitchen. That she doesn't have a sweater anymore. It's just the whatever dress that she wore with like a long sleeve, and her hair's tied back. And then she goes to like pet the dog. You hear the dog, but you don't see the dog, and you're like, and it's like weird shit like that. Then it's like she goes to like the guy's bedroom, like his childhood bedroom, which I get because that's his parents' place. And you see all this different types of media, like books and VHSs and possibly DVDs there, and then like the dad shows up and he's super old all of a sudden. You're like, what the fuck is going on? You know? And then I remember just thinking like, okay, so this is all in her head. Like initially I was like, this is all in her head. Like she like, or they like, or driving there and then they had like a crash. You know what I mean? Like you're just like this like nothing is actually real right now because this is very hallucinogenic. This is literally spanning time. No one's clothes are matching what they were initially wearing. She gets downstairs. Toni Collette is in like 50s, like, young, spry, like, oh, would you bring this thing downstairs? Ooh, yeah, like I just started loading laundry. And you're like, huh, also in the beginning, like some of the dialogue when it was spoken, it like interconnects with like just a random old, janitor, in a high school kind of stuff. And then when she goes to the basement, there's like a janitor like multiple janitor outfits, like in the washing machine. You're like, I don't know what you want from me, movie, but I'm so confused, but I'm like intrigued. I want to know like where this is going, you know? And anyway, so like a lot of weird shit's happening, and the girl is like, she gets kind of annoying but like reasonable, where she's like, okay, like the snowstorm's getting really bad. She said it from the beginning, where she was like, I really want to get back. I have stuff to do. Da da da. The next morning, and it's weird because it goes from, oh yeah, I have stuff to work on tomorrow morning, blah blah blah. Then it goes to her saying that she has to wait tables because she's a waitress, and it's like, okay, which is weird because you notice that the janitor guy was watching like some kind of rom-com, and there was like, a waitress, situated in that, and you're like, does this connect? Excuse me, what is this about? You're like, huh? And then like the girl takes on somewhat the name of the girl in the rom-com, and you're like, huh? I was just like, yo, what is going on here, And so as the movie progresses, you're just like, I don't know. Like finally they leave, and then like they stop off at like an ice cream place in the middle of a blizzard. Now, mind you, I'm the kind of person that no matter what the fuck temperature it is, my ass is gonna have ice cream. I'll be like, ooh, ice cream. Yeah, like, it's I'm that person like in the article was like, it's negative 13 degrees and New Yorkers are walking around with their iced coffee. Yeah, I'm that bitch. Like it's a rarity I get a hot coffee. Like it has to be really cold. And even -13 is not cold enough. Just I really like. Anyway, so they stop by like this little like hut thingy, like just in the middle of the road somewhere. There's like three like high school girls working there. Two of them are just like dumb blondes, like and one of them's like bruised, like kind of gothy looking, and she's like making the, I guess, blizzards or whatever. And she was just like, yeah, like it's very like a lot of ominous stuff happens. When the girl gets her phone call, she hears a voicemail, and it's like ominous things like, there is one answer to this. You have to. There's one answer. Like, whoa. The whole time, what is going on? Why? Why did I decide to watch this so late in the evening? But anyway, and it also like during that scene, it's like the girl is being ignored. Like it's like they don't see the girl, you know, because they're just talking to the guy, and the girl says something. She's like, "Hello," and they don't say. And then like she says something, and then he responds, and they just respond to what he says. And then that's what I'm thinking. Oh, like just realizing while I'm watching that part, and then they get their blizzards, their knockoff blizzards, and they're continuing driving back. In my head, I'm thinking, oh, because Jesse Plemons' character, like nothing changes. Maybe he's the main character this whole time, like she's just like the front, like you think she's the main character, but it's really him. And I'm like, this is weird. And then, like, those, also the ice cream things are, like, huge, fucking huge. And then, like, they're, like, barely eating it. They're, like, they're barely eating it. And then he's like, oh, we gotta dump these. And I'm just like, why? Why? Why'd you buy it? Like, I'm that fat ass where I'm like, no, don't waste the ice cream. Like, what's wrong with you? So then he stopped by, like, the high school to dump it. And, like, that's when, that's when, like, the third act and all the weird shit starts happening in the movie. Like, okay, they go to dump it, and then you see, like, there's, like, a pickup truck just, like, outside of the high school. And then the guy, Jesse Plemons' character goes missing. And the girl's like, what the fuck? So then she goes into the high school trying to look for him, and all it is just that janitor again. And, she seems kind of scared, obviously, because she can't find the guy. And then, like... And the janitor is kind of like, hey, like, maybe you should take off your shoes. I'm kind of, like, cleaning this. And he goes to hand her slippers, which are the same slippers that Jesse Plemons was handing her in the house. And immediately, I was just like, that's him in the future. Like, immediately, I'm like, this movie's about the janitor. I'm like, Jesse Plemons is that janitor. Because then she, like, pushes the shoes back. She goes, no, these are yours. Because she says that in the house. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is him. I'm thinking, like, this is in his head. He just has, like, a shit job as a janitor in high school, just mopping, and he's just creating this situation in his head. And I'm just like, oh my god, like, I'm sorry. Like, this is... I mean, we all have our little fantasy lands that we live in because of what's going on, but Jesus Christ, man, Then the girl actually runs into Jesse Plemons, and it gets, like, this is where, like, it gets super weird, and I know a lot of people are, like, already just... This is where I think it lost a lot of people, where suddenly, like, they're at the end of a hallway, and then two other people show up dressed as them, and they go into, like, this, like, dance, like, ballet thing and all that stuff. And I get it, I can see how that could just, like, lose a lot of people, but again, if you're if you were paying close enough attention, realizing the entire time... this movie wasn't really happening. Like, nothing was really there. Like, that kind of shit. Like, it's one of those, like, might as well. Like, the whole time you're like, well, if someone's just gonna, like, their sweater's gonna be a different color, their coat's gonna be a different color, their name's gonna be a different thing, their occupation, hobbies are completely different, their parents, just switch, ages all the time. Might as well just have two people dressed as them just do ballet shit in a high school hallway. Like, why not, Like, fuck it. Jesus and Moses use guns, Like, that kind of shit. So, yeah, that happens, and it just, like, ends with, like, the old man just, like, oh, the janitor guy's just, like, okay, he just clocks out for his shift, and then he just, like, starts having, like, a mental breakdown, just starts ripping his clothes off, like, in his truck. And I feel like it's like with the movie like Identity or something, where it's like all the different personalities are killing one another until it's the. Am I giving that more of a spoiler? If none of you've seen that, but yeah, where it's just like, oh yeah, all your personalities are killing one another to get to the last one, kind of shit. Or like I guess Fight Club, where when the reality starts breaking. Yeah, so yeah, like I was saying, like it's like, like I said with Fight Club or something, when you notice like your reality is breaking in front of you, where you're like, oh, the entire time, this is was the reality is that I was just like a old fat guy being a janitor, whereas in my mind I was thinking like I had dated someone and then like giving them all the like like the dreams are collapsing, that kind of shit, and so he just starts losing. He starts taking off his clothes, and he like walks into the school naked. And then there's like an animated pig with full of maggots, like just dripping maggots and blood to bring that back, and all that shit. And it's just like what? And like I said, this end part, like I don't blame if people just are like I don't fucking know, you know. And then like it ends with like Jesse Plemons and everyone in old age stage makeup, and he's just like reciting Oklahoma and all that stuff. And again, I can see how you could just be like, nope, you noped out of this movie. I can see why it's pretentious. I can see why like people did not like this movie. I can also see why people really like this movie. Like I really enjoyed it because again, it's one of those movies you'll most likely have to watch a couple of times. In this day and age, no one's really going to be doing that, sadly enough. But I noticed how things were weird, and I was like, yo, I'm with this movie, And with that last part, like, as confusing as it kind of was, I kind of chalked it up to just like, again, the dream is collapsing, the reality is blah, 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 Like, I took it as, you know, he's like on his own last leg where he's just so sad just with this shitty job that he clocks out of work and he gets into his car and then like he's dead now, like he probably like had a heart attack or something, and died. And it's so, like that's it, that's the story. And like in his mind that's him going to like I guess heaven or the afterlife. It's like he gets to recite, like Oklahoma, and then like does like a number and all that stuff, as weird as it is, because then when the movie fully like ends, you just see like the pickup truck just super covered in snow because of the snowstorm the previous night. But during the credits, it's just kind of like it's just like blurred. It's still the truck. It's like blurred, and then the credits. But then you start hearing like an engine, like like it's trying to turn over. But then it also kind of sounds like a tow truck is coming. Like you'd be like, who knows? You know, oh yeah, I also wrote down the too many things. I wrote down, oh yeah, at one point the girl's smoking, then she's wearing all blue. Yeah, the last time you see her, she's wearing all blue. But yeah, just that was that. Yeah, so that was. I'm thinking of ending things. I just saw like screenshots of it, and I was like, this looks kind of like pretty, has pretty cinematography. I'll watch it. Didn't realize I was gonna like have one of these kind of moments at night, like mind blown. Not really, but like just if you pay attention, you'd be like, okay. You realize you're like, oh, but